warming bracket!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest review. This is, of course, for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This is the latest MCU movie. I believe we're at 25 MCU movies now. And I was fortunate enough to see this in Dolby, and I was able to get like a poster for free at AMC, so shout out to them. Look at this. Looks amazing. But this is a movie, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really too looking forward to it. The trailers just seemed very bland. Honestly, I saw the trailer so many times, and every single time I would check out about halfway into the trailer, just didn't really see that interesting. But that being said, I did like the fact that we were getting a diverse movie, similar to like Black Panther. It's a step in the right direction for big blockbusters. But that being said, I still wanted to go in open-minded despite having my reservations. And I have to say, I quite enjoyed this movie. I definitely think that it has its issues for sure, but a lot of my criticisms of Marvel movies simply have to do with like cinematography, score, action scenes, and humor. And I have to say, for this movie in particular, it definitely fixed all those issues. The cinematography is really good. I think especially during the action scenes, it's like a huge step up from what we've seen before. The color palette is actually juiced really well. There are sometimes, like in the first couple minutes and towards the end, it does have this kind of like bland MCU look. But for the most part, it definitely has a unique look to it. I really liked it, especially during the action scenes, and the neon-laced lighting, really, really effective. Also, the score. Again, scores are usually very forgettable in MCU movies. You have it where it's tempo-based oftentimes, and it doesn't stick out at all. It's like background noise, and I don't think personally the score should be background noise. I think that it should be in the forefront. Shang-Chi definitely makes sure that it's in the forefront, especially during those propulsive action scenes. So I really liked it. I'll definitely be listening to it on its own. And then speaking of the action scenes, we got to talk about them. So the action scenes, I think for the most part, are really good. I think when they shine the most is the first act, which, truth be told, this entire movie shines at its best in the first act. The first act, there's a lot of mystery. You're wondering what exactly is going on. You're kind of discombobulated, like the characters and everything, and you're hit with a lot of martial arts style action that I really liked. In particular, the bus scene is just fantastic. Like, I was beside myself at just how amazing it was. I was like, yes. The first act really made me say to myself, I'm glad I watched this movie because this is probably going to be top 5 MCU movies. And unfortunately, it's not, because despite, again, enjoying all that I just said and also liking the humor for the most part, like I would say 50% of the humor worked, which is honestly a surprise because most MCU movies, I'm just sitting here like this. When they crack jokes, I'm like, all right, so this is kind of ruining the tone. But in this case, 50% of the jokes work. But I will say that I felt like once they got into the second act, that was when I was like, okay, let's hold back those unrealistic expectations of this will be top 5 MCU movies, because the second act just really halts in the pacing. Like, it really just kind of stops everything. It stops that momentum just so that way characters can sit around and talk about the past and getting to know each other. And it just really didn't work. The exposition stuck out like a sore thumb. Early on, it was there for sure. Like, it was there over narration, which I did find to be kind of distracting. But I feel like because that second act has it where we as the audience are sitting with these characters and really trying to get to know them and everything, and they're just like throwing all these terms and everything, it just doesn't feel natural. It just kind of took me out. And by the end of the second act, I was like, oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. They're just talking. There's no room to breathe. There's no room for the characters and just the audience to really be able to absorb everything that's going on. It's like we always have to be bombarded with all of this dialogue. Just wasn't a fan of it personally. I wish that there was more visual storytelling. And then we get into the third act, and I enjoyed the third act for the most part, but the villain itself, I think that there was definitely something to be had with it. But unfortunately, the villain feels very two-dimensional. And then characters start to do things just because in the third act, just because. And that's, again, something that I personally have a gripe with in certain blockbusters, and this movie definitely follows that suit. But again, that first act, I will say, I personally think you should watch the movie for that alone. Now, there are going to be some people out there that might like that second act, and that's fine. I personally will say this. I'm glad I watched the movie. I'm glad that this is a character that is getting screen time. I'm glad the humor worked. I'm glad the filmmaking was pretty good for the most part. But again, that second act and the third act just kind of following suit, that's something I also forgot to mention. The third act, again, I enjoyed, but it follows that whole pattern of a Marvel movie just having a huge action set piece just for the sake of it. There's like a huge monster battle and everything. And I'm like, why don't we get to the martial arts action? Because that's when it thrives, which is why I can't 100% say the action is amazing, because again, you have a final act that's literally divided where it's like, yep, just have monsters fight each other. And it's like, no. So, but that being said, again, I am pretty positive about this movie. I do have negatives, obviously, but I will say this is a step in the right direction. It's definitely one of the better movies in terms of like Phase 4 of the MCU. And for me, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I personally will be giving a 3.25 to 5-star rating, which for those like hot sauce rating, it's the good old Frank's hot sauce rating. So yeah, it's enjoyable. Definitely gets a passable rating, and yeah, I will definitely be watching this again at some point, specifically that first act. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this latest MCU offering. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, click the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.